Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today I thought we'd have a look at the Danger Zone second dev server Datamine, just to kind of see some extra information that I probably missed in some of the other videos. Now understand the Datamine isn't finished yet, so there might be a second video looking at some other changes when it comes to that stuff. I'll leave all the links in the description to the ones which are currently available. But understand, over the next few days, I'm going to be pretty busy with real life stuff. So, you know, it means that I need to get out as much as I can while I have time. And so in this video, we're going to go over the first three parts of the Datamine stuff and also hopefully have a look at some other things. It starts off with the list of new vehicles in the game, so the USS Douglas, the M36B2 for Japan, the Ayanami for Japan, the F5E for China, and then also the L640 Premium, the MD500 TOW, the Zephyr, and then also the Turan 4, and the Frank Knox, which is the new vehicle which has come in to the tech tree for the Americans. We actually covered it on the channel earlier. So generally, looking at these vehicles, there's nothing really that new. The USS Gearing is what the vehicle is called. But the only things to point out is the USS Douglas, which isn't technically on the dev server. This thing is at rank 4, Battle Racing 4.3, and it is a premium. It has a hidden cost of 6,090 G, and also at the same time with the MD500 TOW, this is the Little Bird lookalike from the Israeli side of things. It's actually labeled as a rank 5 Battle Rating 9.0 starter vehicle for Israel. So Israel might actually get its helicopter tech tree before China, which sucks, I think is probably the best way of putting it. The Chinese tech tree has been sat there for a long time, and this one still will just appear. The Zephyr also has no data on it yet, so it's kind of just sat in the files, not doing too much, and overall, you know, not too much stuff going on with it. The Zephyr is the Cobra for the Israelis. It's a renamed Cobra, so we're going to have to see which Cobras turn up for the Israeli tech tree. Also, there was some new mission objective texts, and it is land on capture and capture the area in and land on any pad. This is for Helicopter EC, where they're adding in a new little mission where you have to basically pick up a person and take them to a base to keep them alive. They also renamed a bunch of HUD texts. This is mainly down to the new radars which are coming in, specifically the F-14's radar, which is way more complicated than pretty much anything we've seen before when it comes to radars. So yeah, it's definitely a next step in the generation. There's also obviously some new bombs, the ZB500, ZB360, and the BLU-27. These are all the fire bombs or the napalm bombs that are going into the Soviet and the American tech tree. Hopefully other nations can have a look at it as well. They also renamed a streak, which is a one-shot. They finally changed it to without a miss. Now, if you don't know what one-shot is, and I know why this might be confusing to people because it doesn't pertain to what it actually is. So one-shot, what you had to do to get it was not kill something in one shot. You had to kill something while not missing the target. So you could hit it 50 times as long as you didn't miss, and that would class as a one-shot, which was a bit stupid. So it's finally been renamed to without a miss, which makes a lot more sense in general. And also, at the same time, they have hidden the Israeli tank CBT stars when it comes to the dev server. And also, there is a new feature, which is the Battle Auto Start, which is available only to devs right now. And then another new feature, which is the Replay Rewind, which is available to everyone. Now, I couldn't get it to work on the dev server. I'm sure somebody knows how it goes. But for me, I wasn't able to, you know, get it sorted. But yeah, it looks like they're finally adding in Replay Rewind. So we've had two massive things for content creators in general. We've now had the name stuff, so you can randomize your name, which is pretty useful, at least for content creators, and rewinding replays, which will be useful for everybody, but also mainly content creators, so it'll be easier to make videos now. Overall, it's really nice to see them adding these things. Also, they have added a new explosive type. This is CKC, and it's a 0.002 times TNT, so this is at the same as napalm, so it's probably just for the firebombs, and they added some new decals. The first one being the low visibility Israeli Air Force roundel, which does look pretty nice. And then the other two, which aren't available right now, are the WT Banner Wehrmacht Girl and the WT Banner Wehrmacht Girl face. Now, these are probably Weeb decals, so they're going to probably be for the Japanese side of things when they do their little events. So, yeah, it's one of those things to think about. Maybe they come to the overall server, but I'm pretty sure I've seen these decals before. They're very, let's say, kawaii. Then you have a new loading background. They've added the hood in, and I'm sure there'll be many other loading backgrounds as well. Usually the backgrounds are some of the nicest things in the update, especially since, you know, they're always lovely to see. And also, there has been some changes to stat cards. Now remember, when it comes to stat cards, that isn't necessarily changes to the vehicle itself. So stuff like the Milan, for example, got changed, but they changed its engine. It went from the Atar 9B to the Atar 9K50. So as long as they put in its correct stats, it should perform better than it did on the first dev server. And they also changed a bunch of different other things, such as crews, amount of armors, and things like that on the stat cards. They also made some tech tree changes. So for the A10A early, the M60 MBT, the PT811, the HE112B2, and the JU87B2 Libya, and the ITP M1, they moved the following vehicles to the other premium column. So they just switched them around. And then also the OF40 Mark II MTCA, which we talked about before, is now a premium. It's going to cost 8,730 GE, and it's also being moved down to 8.7. So it should be available for everybody when it comes to the tech tree. They also did a bunch of economy changes, mainly just stock repair costs and also mod costs changes because, well, they're adding a bunch of mods to different things, so generally that affects the starter repair cost. Also at the same time, they are increasing the M1342's RP cost to 4,000 and increasing everything along with it. What is quite nice though is on the left-hand line of the French vehicles for ground, the AMX-13 Hot, the Mars 15, and also the VCAC Mephisto. They are decreasing all of their RP costs, which is really nice. So the AMX-13 Hot is going down to 180,000, the Mars 15 to 220,000, and the Mephisto, instead of being 340,000, it's going to be at 270,000. This is really nice, and also other parts of it are decreased as well, such as the crew cost and also the SL cost. So overall, these will just be easier to play and easier to have a go with. And generally, they're not the best vehicles in the world, so the lower they are, the better it is for people in general. They also changed a bunch of repair times for ships, which is something they seem to do every other day, so it's very hard to actually follow them around. And also, when it comes to wheels, they've now made them so they get damaged by incendiary bombs as well. So now your napalm or your fire bombs will be a little bit more useful. I still think a general bomb is probably going to be better right now, though. They're also modifying a bunch of the loadouts, the custom loadouts that vehicles have access to. So, for example, a lot of the F4s, they're making it so on certain pylons, you can, if you carry certain things on other pylons, you won't be able to carry stuff on those pylons. So for example, for the F4E, you can't carry on pylon 3, you can no longer carry anything on pylon 3 if you carry a GBU-8, an AGM-62A, or an AGM-65B on pylon 2, and also vice versa. So they're basically making it so, you know, it's a bit more historically accurate, so you can't just load up the vehicles. Also, for the F4C, they added the 2,000 pound Mark 84 as a rank 4 mod to it, so you can now bring a big boom along with your F4C, because it didn't have enough bombs anyway. The F-14A was given combat flaps as well. The engine RPM was also increased in general, and at the same time, it should be just slightly better than it was before. They also added a bit of bulletproof glass to the cockpit in the form of 38mm stuff. They moved all of the semi-active radar homing and also the active radar homing stuff up a rank when it comes to modifications, so they'll be a little bit harder to get access to. The Thunder Chief obviously got napalm. It gets 5 BLU-27s, which is quite nice, and a bunch of the MiGs, specifically the 23s and 27s, got a bunch of changes since they now have the fire bombs as well, such as getting the ZAB 500s and also the 360s, so overall not too bad. The MiG-21S also gets the FAB 500 as a tier 3 mod, so a bunch of more fighters are getting access to just general bombs as well, so they're going to be quite nice. A lot of the MiG-21s got added custom loadouts, apart from the SPSK. There's also a few bugs when it comes to that stuff. The reason why I couldn't really look at the F5 for China was that it was bugged out, just like a few of the other MiG-21s were as well. They've changed a bunch of the Mirages again. They've increased a lot of their coefficients for their thrust and torque at basically higher speeds and higher altitudes. Don't think it's going to really change anything because nobody fights at those altitudes, but you never know at the end of the day. Also, AAAs and artillery can also now be damaged by incendiary bombs, so once again, trying to make them a bit more useful. They changed some of the engine sounds, and this includes the Weasel and the Mephisto. They've been changed to the Fiat 144 from the Type 93. But don't worry, it still sounds like a race car, so you don't have to worry too much. A bunch of other vehicles have also been changed. The LAVAD, or the LAVAD, they added a laser designator sensor to it, which is pretty cool, and also changed its track radar to the 3JB10. This effectively reduces its range from 8 kilometers to 5. So a bit of a nerf, but nothing that's really going to change it too much. The M1A1 AIM, the Australian new squadron vehicle, the KE modifier now on its turret front is 0.885, which is slightly lower than the M1A2, which is at 0.907, and the kinetic, or the chemical modifier, sorry, is at 1.6, which is slightly higher than the M1A2 at 1.573. So basically, the M1A1 will be slightly worse against kinetic rounds compared to the M1A2, whereas against chemical, it'll be better. So overall slightly worse, since nobody fires chemical. The box on the turret back has also been reduced from 101mm to 6. Very sad for the vehicle. And they also changed the sights on the 105 Sherman, and now it should be a lot better to be able to actually see with the thing. They've changed a ton of different armor components when it comes to a bunch of vehicles. Very slight changes here and there, and also changing a lot of vehicles' mobility, such as the Lanciers and also, of course, the ZTZs. They gave also the new SU more countermeasures, which is quite nice to see as well. That thing should be quite a little fun vehicle. They added 64 more countermeasures to it, the SU-17 M4, and also they changed its R60s to R60Ms, so they're really trying to make sure that that thing is a little bit more useful, since it kind of looked DOA when it came to the last dev server. They've also removed the NVDs from the Magak 2, no real massive thing there. And as I said, a ton of little armor changes to many different vehicles, which I'm sure will get their armors changed once again when it comes to they go to live. So not really worth having a look at until they hit the live server. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Nicholas Richardson, Elove Goat, Pyman675, Winter Scientist, Merciless Reaper, Jerry Prevolt, Megadino King, Orange Tail, Teddy, John Ryman, Universe, Ambrosius McClellan, Daniel Stanton, Moxie, B. Young, Uncle Bean, Sem Arslan, Derek R., Bareen, Lafouche, and Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.